He was tortured for months inside a WSB black site, and now Jason Morgan is standing back in Port Charles, about to drop a bombshell that's going to leave Sonny, Carly, and half this town frozen in place. And that is not even the strangest part of what's coming. Because while Jason is walking back into people's lives with news nobody is ready for, Devane is on the opposite side of town doing something just as explosive, sitting Britt Westbourne down and interrogating her like the badge never left her hip. Two people, both changed by what they survived, both about to shake this canvas to its foundation, and we have got the early details on all of it. Hey everybody, welcome back to Soap Pulse. I'm Anderson, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's a good time because we've got a packed week of General Hospital spoilers ahead, and you do not want to miss what's coming. All right, let's get into it. So here's where we stand right now, heading toward the week of July 20th through the 24th, which, by the way, is the final week of July sweeps before the next ratings period doesn't kick back up until November. That matters because sweeps weeks are when soaps like General Hospital tend to pull out their biggest guns, their most dramatic reveals, the storylines that are designed to make you gasp out loud at your television. And based on what's being teased, that pattern is holding true again. We've got Jason Morgan back on canvas after being held and reportedly tortured for months at a WSB black site, and according to early reporting, he's decided to live his life differently now. What that means exactly, we don't fully know yet, but we do know it's going to come out as a bombshell, and Sonny, Carly, and the people closest to him are described as being stunned by what he reveals. We've got Devane back in a position of authority, sitting down with Britt Westbourne for what's being described as an interrogation, even though Britt isn't currently facing criminal charges. We've got Portia Robinson's labor and delivery drama finally reaching some kind of resolution. We've got Valentin Cassadine making it clear, in no uncertain terms, exactly what he wants, both in terms of property and in terms of a certain someone he's been getting closer to. And we've got Britt Westbourne, by multiple accounts, continuing to spiral, professionally and personally, in a way that even her own mother is reportedly alarmed by. But before we jump into the week of the 20th, let's talk about what's happening right now this week, because there's a lot of groundwork being laid, and if you don't know what happens first, the bombshells coming later won't hit nearly as hard. Let's start on Wednesday, July 15th, because there's big news brewing for Trina and Gio, and it centers around a music showcase that Brooke Lynn appears to be putting together, primarily as a platform for Trina, with Gio along for the ride as her musical accompaniment. Now, here's where things get interesting, and honestly, kind of relatable if you've ever watched someone freeze up right before a big moment. According to early details, nerves get the better of Trina, and she tells Gio that this is a mistake, that she can't go through with it. Now, is this a classic case of stage fright, or is there something deeper going on with Trina that's making her pull back from opportunities in general? We're going to want to keep an eye on that, because it could tie into everything else she's been dealing with lately. Also on Wednesday, Curtis is expressing his gratitude to Valentin, and if you've been following along, you'll remember why. Valentin, even while he was technically a fugitive, reportedly helped get Jordan out of a car before it went up in flames. That's not a small thing. That's a man risking his own freedom for someone he arguably had no reason to save. So when Curtis tells Valentin that he hates having to ask him for help again, it raises an immediate question. What does Curtis need this time? And based on the timing, with Curtis heading into a criminal trial, it's fair to speculate that this request could be connected to that case. Maybe Curtis is hoping Valentin will back up a version of events, maybe involving what happened with the other driver leaving the scene. Now, to be clear, this is speculation based on the pattern of events being teased, not a confirmed plot point. But if it plays out that way, it raises a bigger question about just how far Curtis is willing to go to protect himself, and whether the man viewers used to root for is now willing to cross lines he never would have crossed before. And speaking of things reaching a breaking point, Portia goes into labor on Wednesday, and by the sound of it, this baby is not waiting around. She's described as being right by her purse when it happens, which means, hopefully, she's got quick access to her phone, whether that's to call Isaiah, who happens to be a doctor, or to just dial 911 outright. Because context matters here. This pregnancy has already been through the ringer. Portia reportedly got pregnant last August, which puts her well past a typical due date at this point, something like 11 months along by some estimates, even though the visible signs haven't necessarily matched that timeline on screen. And a lot of longtime viewers have pointed out that Jordan's actions leading up to this moment were, frankly, hard to watch, with many placing the blame for this chaotic delivery squarely on Curtis and Jordan rather than on Portia herself. Meanwhile, over at Windermere, Brennan and Nina are trying to figure out their next move, specifically trying to locate a black box that Colum reportedly swiped before everything fell apart. Jack is said to be worried that Valentin might beat them to it, purely, it seems, out of spite or personal amusement. And here's a curiosity loop worth holding on to because, according to early details, Jack does find the object they're looking for, but it may already be too late by the time he does. Too late for what, exactly? That's the question the show wants you asking, and we don't have a clean answer yet. There's also a major medical development brewing. Drew, who has been trapped in a locked-in state, is showing signs of movement, hands, feet, small but significant signs that his condition is shifting. That's the kind of storyline beat that can change everything for the people around him, especially once we get into what Willow has apparently done to him. Speaking of Willow, Michael tells her that they both know he gave her exactly what she wanted, and honestly, we don't know the full context of that line yet. But it's loaded, and it suggests some kind of quiet transaction or understanding between the two of them that hasn't been fully revealed to the audience. At the same time, Justina appears to be losing patience with Willow's continued presence in Michael's life, and according to some early reporting, she may be preparing to go rogue, possibly even tipping off the press about the car accident that's been hanging over this storyline for what feels like forever. If that happens, it could blow the lid off a secret that several characters have worked very hard to keep buried. And here's where the Drew and Willow situation takes a genuinely dark turn. Drew is reportedly regaining more motion in his body, but Willow still has a bit of paralytic left in her system. Now, we're not going to sit here and tell you exactly what's going to happen next, because that would be jumping ahead of confirmed events. But the tension in that dynamic, a man slowly regaining control of his body while the woman who wronged him is temporarily immobilized, is about as loaded a setup as this show has offered in a while. Fans online have been vocal about wanting some form of reckoning in that storyline, and it looks like the show is at least teasing the possibility of one. Also on Wednesday, Jocelyn spills a secret, reportedly to Anna, who visits her at General Hospital and tells her she's hoping to help get her across the finish line, whatever that finish line happens to be. There's real reason to believe this could involve the truth about Cassius and Colum finally coming out, which would be a significant turning point given how much has been hidden around those two names. And in a smaller but satisfying beat, Carly is reportedly done coddling Britt, telling her flat out to stop acting like the world owes her something and to fix her life. Whether Britt takes that advice or spirals further is very much an open question, and honestly, based on everything else being teased about her this week, spiraling further seems like the safer bet. And here's something worth sitting with for a second before we move on. Think about what it actually means for a show like this to put a music showcase, a birth, a fugitive's favor, and a locked-in patient's first twitch of movement all in the same 24 hours of storytelling. That's not accidental. That's a writer's room stacking dominoes so that when one falls, the rest go with it. Every single beat on Wednesday is designed to ripple forward into the following days, and if you're the kind of viewer who likes connecting threads before the show spells them out for you, this is the week to start taking notes because nothing here is happening in isolation. Now let's move into Thursday, July 16th, because things start shifting in a few different directions here. Cody reportedly volunteers for what's described as a thankless task, and there's speculation that this could involve him being the one to break difficult news to James, specifically that the man James knew in town wasn't actually Nathan, but rather his uncle Cassius, who has since died. If that's accurate, that's an enormous emotional burden to place on a child, and it says a lot about Cody that he might be the one to step up and deliver it, choosing to be there for his nephew when it matters most. We're also told Maxie is staying on in her current role, at least for now, until any potential recasting decision is made, which is worth noting for anyone who's been tracking behind-the-scenes casting shifts on this show. Also on Thursday, Molly drops in on Cody at the stables, and according to early reporting, she may tell him she's planning to cancel her book tour so she can prosecute the Sidwell case personally. Cody, understandably, may worry about her safety, echoing concerns that Sonny reportedly had before. But here's an interesting wrinkle. This timing might actually work out conveniently for Cody, given everything happening with James. Sometimes the universe, or in this case, the writer's room, lines things up in ways that feel almost too neat, and this could be one of those moments. Now, here's the big one for Thursday. Anna interrogates Britt, and we want to be careful with the language here, because as of this point in the story, Britt is not facing formal criminal charges. But Anna is back in a position of authority as police commissioner, and that status could change depending on what comes out during this conversation. According to those following the story closely, the smart move for Britt would be total honesty, because Anna is reportedly trying to determine whether Britt knew she was being held and gaslit by Colum and Sidwell. That's a serious question with serious implications, and how Britt answers it could determine a lot about where her story goes from here. Adding another layer of tension, there's speculation that Ghost Peter, appearing as some kind of presence in this narrative, may have some harsh things to say about his half-sister Britt during all of this. Whether that's meant as commentary, manipulation, or something else entirely remains to be seen, but it's clearly meant to keep viewers uneasy about where Britt's psychological state is heading. Also on Thursday, Isaiah reportedly interrupts Portia and Curtis, likely while they're taking in a quiet moment with their newborn, assuming Portia wasn't dealing with false labor earlier in the week. And in a smaller but pointed beat, Liesl Obrecht is described as furious, specifically over Cassius being branded the villain in all of this. Given Liesl's fierce, if complicated, loyalty to her children, there's speculation that Dr. O might step in and offer Britt some financial support to keep her afloat while she continues fighting what's being framed as a battle over her son. Meanwhile, in a lighter beat amid all this heaviness, Gio and Emma reportedly sit down for a conversation about their future together. Let's pause on that Anna and Britt scene for a moment, though, because it's worth unpacking why this particular conversation carries so much weight. Anna Devane has spent years on this show as someone who understands manipulation from the inside out, having survived her own share of gaslighting and psychological warfare at the hands of people who claimed to love her. So when she sits across from Britt, this isn't just a procedural interview. It's one survivor trying to determine whether another person in her orbit was a victim of the same kind of manipulation or something closer to a willing participant. That distinction matters enormously, both legally and emotionally, and it's exactly the kind of gray area this show tends to explore best. Was Britt complicit? Was she coerced? Or is the truth somewhere messier in between? According to those tracking the story, we may not get a clean answer right away, and that ambiguity is likely intentional because it keeps both Anna and the audience guessing about how much sympathy Britt actually deserves right now. Now let's get into Friday, July 17th, because this is where several storylines start converging toward the bigger reveals coming the following week. Nina reportedly pours her heart out to Brennan, and there's a strong likelihood this centers around an update she receives about Drew, possibly from Willow herself, which would be a deeply uncomfortable conversation given everything we now understand about Willow's role in Drew's condition. Nina is described as being worried sick that Willow could be facing prison, which tells us a lot about where Nina's loyalties and fears currently sit. Trina and Joss also reconnect on Friday, and Trina reportedly has a lot to process, specifically around Joss being shot and the revelation that she's a WSB agent. That's not a small thing to absorb about your best friend, and it's worth watching how that friendship holds up under the weight of that new information. And then there's Valentin, who by the end of the week is described as being completely clear about what he wants. He's already made it known to Dante that he intends to reclaim Windermere, the Cassadine family home, and to remain close to Charlotte regardless of how Lulu feels about it. But it doesn't stop there, because Valentin is also reportedly sure that he wants Carly, which raises an immediate and fascinating question. If he does manage to get Windermere back, is he planning to move Carly into that castle with him? That's the kind of development that could reshape multiple relationships across this canvas at once. Lulu, understandably, reportedly issues some kind of warning to Ethan, possibly connected to Ava, and Carly is described as setting boundaries with Sonny by the end of the week. We're told Sonny is not handling the idea of Carly being with Valentin well at all, but according to early reporting, that's not going to slow Carly down one bit. In fact, it sounds like Carly may tell Sonny in no uncertain terms to stay out of her business, and Sonny, in typical Sonny fashion, is expected to task Brick with helping to break up Carly and Valentin's relationship. Needless to say, if that happens, Carly is not going to take it well. It's worth zooming out for a moment on the Trina and Joss friendship too, because that reconnection carries more emotional weight than it might seem at first glance. These two have been through years of ups and downs together, from prom night disasters to courtroom battles, and now Trina is being asked to process the idea that her closest friend has been living a secret double life as an intelligence operative the entire time they've known each other. That's the kind of revelation that can either bring two people closer together or create a permanent rift, because it forces Trina to ask herself what else she might not know and whether the version of Joss she thought she understood was ever the full picture. How Trina responds to that uncertainty is going to say a lot about where their friendship goes from here, and honestly, it's one of the more grounded human threads in a week, otherwise packed with bombshells and reveals. And on the Valentin front, it's hard not to notice the pattern forming here. Every time this show has given Valentin Cassadine something he desperately wants, whether it's Windermere or Charlotte's loyalty or now possibly Carly, there's been a cost lurking just behind it. Longtime viewers know Valentin rarely gets to simply enjoy a win. So while it's easy to get swept up in the idea of him finally reclaiming the Cassadine estate and building some kind of life with Carly inside those walls, the more interesting question might be what he's going to have to sacrifice, or who he's going to have to betray, to actually hold on to it. Laura's willingness to help him, but only in exchange for something unspecified, feels like exactly the kind of setup that pays off 2 or 3 episodes later in a way nobody sees coming. So that brings us to the big one, the week everyone's been waiting for, July 20th through the 24th. And remember, this is the final week of July sweeps, so buckle up. Monday, July 20th. Word spreads that Jason is back, and according to early reporting, he has decided to live his life a different way after everything he endured, being tortured for months at a WSB black site. That phrase alone should tell you this isn't the same Jason Morgan who left. Something has shifted in him, and Sonny, Carly, and the people closest to him are described as being genuinely stunned by the bombshells he starts dropping. What exactly those bombshells are hasn't been fully detailed yet, and that's very much by design, because the show wants you tuning in to find out. But we do know Jason circles back around to Rocco, reportedly to reassure him and offer some guidance, which suggests that whatever Jason went through, his instinct to protect and guide the people he loves hasn't gone anywhere. There's also speculation that Jason may have some difficult news for Britt, though we're told that's probably going to be okay in the end, especially since it sounds like viewers may have already been introduced to her next love interest. That's an interesting detail, because it suggests the show isn't planning to leave Britt in freefall forever, even as everything else in her storyline continues to spiral. Let's take a moment to really think about what Jason's return means for this canvas, because it's easy to gloss over just how significant this is. This is a man who has spent decades on this show as the steady, if morally complicated, protector of the people he loves. Being held and reportedly tortured for months at a WSB black site isn't the kind of thing a person simply walks away from unchanged. So when the reporting says he's decided to live his life differently, that raises a lot of possibilities. Does that mean he's stepping back from the enforcer role he's occupied for so long? Does it mean he's finally ready to be honest about things he's kept buried for years? Or does it mean something darker, that whatever he endured has hardened him in ways that are going to make him harder to predict and maybe harder to trust? Sonny and Carly knowing him as well as they do, their shock at whatever he reveals tells us. This isn't a small adjustment. This is something that reframes who Jason Morgan is going to be moving forward, and that alone is worth tuning in for. Meanwhile, Drew's recovery is picking up speed, especially now that Kai has reportedly noticed him starting to move more. Drew is described as being on a mission for some form of retribution against Willow, though it may not unfold exactly the way he hopes, particularly if Nina and Jack manage to find what they've been searching for first. That's a curiosity loop worth sitting with, because it suggests outside forces could intervene in whatever reckoning Drew is planning, for better or worse. On the darker side of things, Ghost Peter reportedly continues trying to push Anna toward deadly decisions, offering negative, possibly manipulative opinions about the people in her life. Given Peter's history of manipulation even in life, this presence, whatever form it's taking, is clearly meant to unsettle viewers about how much influence he still has over Anna's judgment. Valentin and Carly, according to early reporting, keep growing closer throughout this stretch, but that closeness comes at a cost. Lulu is described as being furious, and Charlotte is reportedly furious at her own mother, which puts Dante in the position of trying to advise Lulu to rethink her approach. Anyone who knows Lulu's track record, though, knows she doesn't always take advice well, and there's a real possibility she digs in her heels instead of stepping back. Adding to the tension, Valentin reportedly goes to Laura looking for help mediating the situation with Lulu, and while Laura is described as agreeing to help, she's also going to demand something from Valentin in return. What that something is remains unclear, but knowing Laura, it's unlikely to be a small ask. On a happier note, Curtis and Portia finally have their new baby, and that milestone reportedly brings Trina back around, even after she spent time avoiding her parents. A new sibling, apparently, is exactly the kind of thing that can bridge that kind of distance. We're also told the results of Trina and Gio's music showcase come through this week, and it sounds like good news is on the way, with Trina reportedly receiving an offer and Gio receiving one as well, something he apparently wasn't expecting at all. After everything Trina went through with her nerves earlier in the week, that would be a genuinely satisfying payoff. But Curtis's situation is far from resolved. He's reportedly heading into criminal court soon, described as desperate to avoid prison time and willing to play dirty to do it. And after Jordan's actions reportedly terrorized Portia into early labor, there's speculation that Isaiah may double down on both the civil and criminal fronts against them. This is where the show seems to be asking viewers a pointed question: how far is too far when it comes to protecting yourself, and at what point does self-preservation become something much darker? There's also a shakeup brewing at Diane and Alexis's law firm, with the two of them reportedly looking to hire a new lawyer now that they've lost Marco. And in a piece of casting news that's been generating buzz, Kelly Kruger is set to debut soon as Serena Baldwin returning to Port Charles to help her surrogate mother Lucy fight her battles at deception. That sets up an interesting corporate conflict too, because Tracy is reportedly waging war with Lucy, who now holds significantly more ownership shares, reportedly thanks to Brooke Lynn needing help framing Willow at some point along the way. That's a storyline thread that's been simmering for a while, and it looks like it's about to boil over into open conflict. Now, before we close things out, we want to give a quick nod to General Hospital's Daytime Emmy nominations, because this show has had quite a run recognition-wise. The series itself picked up a nomination for Outstanding Drama Series. On the acting side, Steve Burton earned a nomination for Lead Actor, and Amanda Sutton was recognized in the Supporting Actress category. Interestingly, and somewhat surprisingly to a lot of longtime fans, the show was shut out of the lead actress category entirely and also didn't receive a nomination in supporting actor, which has sparked some conversation among viewers about who they felt deserved recognition that didn't get it. On a brighter note, Braden Bruna picked up a nomination for Emerging Talent, sharing that recognition alongside Gio Matha, and the show also picked up guest star nominations for Jeff Kober and Eva LaRue. Beyond the acting categories, General Hospital was recognized for its writing and directing teams, its cinematography, lighting direction, hair and makeup work, and casting, which speaks to just how much work goes into making this show what it is behind the scenes. It's genuinely worth appreciating that recognition for a moment, because it's easy to focus purely on plot twists. That a show like this has survived for decades because of the people working tirelessly behind the camera as much as in front of it. Every one of those recognized categories, the lighting, the hair and makeup, the cinematography, plays a part in making these emotional beats land the way they do, whether it's the harsh, fluorescent glow of a hospital room during Portia's labor or the shadowy tension of Anna's interrogation room. When a show gets this kind of across-the-board recognition, it's a sign that the entire production, not just the storylines, is firing on all cylinders right now, and that bodes well for how these upcoming reveals are actually going to be delivered on screen. So where does that leave us heading into this pivotal stretch of episodes? We've got a man who survived months of torture, walking back into the lives of the people who love him, carrying secrets that are apparently big enough to stun even Sonny and Carly. We've got a mother fighting to protect her son from a version of the truth that could destroy what's left of her family. We've got a police commissioner trying to determine who was a victim and who was complicit in a scheme that's left half this town reeling. We've got a man slowly regaining control of his body while the woman who wronged him hangs in a precarious position of her own. And we've got relationships, old ones and new ones, being tested in ways that could permanently reshape who ends up standing next to whom by the time this sweeps period wraps. What we don't know yet, and what the show is clearly banking on us wanting to find out, is exactly what Jason is going to reveal, exactly what Anna uncovers when she pushes Britt for the truth, and whether Valentin's pursuit of both Windermere and Carly ends in triumph or in the kind of spectacular collapse this show has delivered so many times before. What we do know is that every single one of these threads is pulling towards something bigger, something that's been building for months, and by the time we reach the end of this sweeps period, Port Charles is not going to look the same. And maybe that's really what makes this stretch of episodes feel different from a typical week on this show. It's not just one storyline building to a climax, it's almost every major storyline hitting a turning point at the same time. A man rebuilding himself after trauma, a woman trying to determine who deserves her trust and who doesn't, a family fighting to survive a birth that came far too late and far too hard, a romance that could either heal old wounds or tear open new ones. When a show manages to line up that many emotional stakes at once and make each one feel earned rather than forced, that's when you get the kind of television people can't stop talking about the next morning, the kind that ends up clipped and shared and dissected across every soap forum and comment section for days afterward. This is shaping up to be exactly that kind of week, and honestly, that's why we do these breakdowns in the first place, because half the fun of watching a show like this is trying to guess what's coming before it happens, and then watching it prove you either brilliantly right or spectacularly wrong. That's what we've got for you on the early spoilers heading into the week of July 20th. As always, take these as the best available reporting and reasonable speculation based on what's been teased, not as guaranteed outcomes, because this show has a long history of pulling the rug out from under even the most confident predictions. If you enjoyed this breakdown, let us know down in the comments what you think Jason's bombshell is really going to be and who you think is going to come out on top once Anna gets Britt talking. Until next time, I'm Anderson, this has been Soap Pulse, and we'll see you right back here for more.